Am I the only one that thinks you sound like the great Bruce Campbell? Please say groovy in your next video. Well, Phil Burnett, don't want to let you down, so groovy. Well, bad Bruce Campbell impressions aside, this is going to be a very simple video for you guys. I've been wanting to do this for a little while, at least try it out. These are your garden variety bamboo skewers, and these are really cool because these make really great nails. Now, I've seen a couple of people do this, especially in eastern countries like Japan. Far eastern countries like Japan and Korea and the like. Bamboo is a wonderful material. It is used for all kinds of different things, especially where it grows plentifully. But what we're going to do today, we're going to make ourselves a little single drawer Tansu cabinet, kind of an extension cabinet to that machinist chest I made a long time ago. It's almost been 2 years now. And to do the assembly, we're actually just going to use those bamboo nails. I want to show you guys how to do that. It's a really great way to get some economical use out of a very cheap item. I mean, I bought these for, there's no price tag, but probably $3 or $4, and there's at least, if I split each one in three, probably a good couple hundred nails in there I could get out of that. So let's get to cutting, and I'm going to get some pieces dimensioned here real quick, and then we'll show you guys how this works. So just to make life easy, dimension wise, this is only going to be as tall as my stock is here. So all we've got to do to get our measurement laid out, line this guy up like so. It's always nice when you can use stock that's pre-cut because it just saves you so much time in dimensioning. Alright, so for our floor bottom, we're going to laminate a couple of these guys together. Just got some regular little old plastic wrap to keep this from sticking to my planing board, because that would be not a good day in Mayberry if that happened. Alright, well while that's drying, we're going to work on the other stuff, which is basically dimensioning each piece of this cabinet. It shouldn't take too long to get it done, but some of the best advice I ever got when working in a small space is try to organize your tasks by time, so the ones that are going to take the longest time, try to do them while you're doing other tasks. You know, just time management basically. Alright, so for joinery on this thing, we're just going to keep it really simple with some basic lap joints. These are not going to be, come on, there we go. These are not going to be too complicated at all, just in an effort to make this go quicker. I am opting for lap joints as opposed to dovetails or anything crazy like that. Not to say you can't use dovetails, I just don't want to use them in this case. So that is going to be where our end pieces sit here. And it's just going to be a couple of bits there that hold it together, and then we're going to put some nails in there and just roll with that. Alright, we are making some good progress here. trim up a couple of these corners here, and then we'll probably have our first side ready to be assembled. Alright, well, after a good bit of work, we got ourselves our little puzzle piece kind of thing here. And for a little illustration of the visual variety, I'm just going to assemble it like so. Come on. A little tight. That's alright though. So this is roughly the crux of what we're trying to do here. It's just kind of a little wide console piece. It's going to go underneath. We'll have another chest placed on top of it here, just to get a little extra storage. And like I was saying before, all a lap joint really is just kind of large finger joints going across like that. They're extremely practical. They look pretty cool whenever everything's put together. And you can make them as large or as small as you want, but because they're larger, they tend to be a little bit easier to fit. And if you're doing something like this where you're not worried about extreme precision, or you're using nails to join everything together, you can leave a little bit of a gap that kind of lets for movement over the seasons as the wood expands and contracts, but I'm not too terribly worried about it. This thing's probably not going to outlast me, but we'll see. So next on the agenda is we got to make ourselves some nails and get this thing solidified together. It's going to look really cool with that pine. Alright, so these things are the type that you can pick up at pretty much any of your local grocery mart. They're extremely cheap and they're very plentiful and really hard to open for whatever reason. Hang on a sec, got a better idea. Anyway, like I was saying, they're very cheap, they're very plentiful, and they're very, very cool because what we're going to do with these is we're going to cut these into smaller sections, maybe about that long, however deep we need to make the holes in this thing. And we're going to do about two to four on each side, probably, or 2 to 4 on each part, I should say. But basically, these are going to be our nails to hold this thing together. This bamboo is interesting in the fact that it is actually a very fibrous, very flexible wood. So whenever the weather changes, I'm wondering how well these are going to hold, and that's kind of the reason I'm making this, because I wanted to experiment to see. Now, if you use metal nails, metal doesn't move with the weather like wood does. The wood will actually move around the metal, and it'll eventually cause the nails to come loose. And what I want to know is if the bamboo nails are actually going to hold no matter what the weather does. So it's going to be a long-term experiment, and I might come back to it in a year or two. We'll see. We'll see how long it takes for this thing to move. But anyway, we're going to get these cut, and we're going to drill some pilot holes, and we're going to get this thing tacked together. It's kind of exciting, honestly. Oh no! Ah. And now I'm just cutting these off just outside the length of the hole that I'm using. And I'm actually just kind of guessing, it's not really an exact science. And then, once you have it down inside, you can actually just take your chisel and cut it off like that. Very quick, very efficient, very easy, and also very cheap. 300 nails for $3, that's a pretty good deal. Now, one thing I did forget to mention, if you feel so inclined, you can also use a little bit of glue to add some rigidity to your bamboo nails if you want. It's not required, but it can make things a little bit easier should you find yourself needing something to be a little bit more rigid than normal. And you don't have to do it this way. You can just coat the nail in glue and then put it in place, but whatever works for you. Oh. Yeah. Self-fixing, am I right? Yeah, that one didn't really work out. That does happen on occasion. That's why you should always cut the ends rather than try to break them, because when you break them, you split the fibers. When you cut them, you get that, which gives you a little bit better surface to hammer on there. Self-healing. And with those 6 in place, we can take our clamps off here. Should be able to hold itself fairly well. Oh yeah, that's good. Works just like regular nails, just not made of metal. Come on. There we go. And then once that glue dries, we can run over this with a plane, and it cleans up pretty easy. So, after everything's dried, and you have everything that you want it, you knock off the excess. You get a splinter in your hand too while you're at it. Take your plane, just like you would any normal joint. And then what you're left with in the aftermath is a very neat, very clean look that you can almost dress up however you want. You can use as many as you want or as few as you want, but either way. And now we rinse and repeat for the other side. And we continue as normal. And there you go, just a nice little clean, almost looks like little pins in there. Alright, so now that our main piece is done, or the carcass, whatever you call it, these are those boards that we edge jointed a little while back at the beginning, and we are going to smooth these out and get these cut for the bottom of our floor, or the bottom of the floor, the floor of our drawer is what I was trying to say there. And we're just going to take a real rough measurement here, about there. Measure wide, cut short, that's what I always say. Alright, we are nearing the finish line here. Just gotta get this floor cut for the drawer piece. And last but not least, we're gonna do a little bit of sticker removal here. Perfect. Okay, so we have our floor cut, we got our sides and our end pieces, so now we just gotta assemble the drawer. And all I've really done with this is I've just gone over each bit and cut out a bit of a lip on each side, and we're just going to pop the drawer down in the middle, or not the drawer, pop the floor plate down in the middle of these, clamp them together, nail them together, and should go together just fine. So our floorboard doesn't quite fit exactly, but we can go through and remedy that. You can always take off more material, it's a lot harder to put it back on. Alright, let's try this again here. Close. Very close. Just need to size it up a little bit on this corner here. That should do it. Alright, test number next. We are... Ah! Yes, and we have a slight gap. That is entirely fixable though. It does get a little tedious to go through and drill holes, but either way. As long as it goes together good and solid, that's really what matters. And the nice thing with these nails is just break them off like that. You don't have to have really long bits sticking up. Voila! We're going to let those dry for a bit, then we're going to come back, plane it smooth, and start fitting it to the carcass. Or, again, I don't know what that actually is called. We're just going to call it the body for now. I'll make it easy on myself. That is so satisfying to do that. Once you get it pounded in, it's all done. Alright, through the power of editing, all of our nails are in place. Now comes the moment of truth. Well, we unscrew our clamps and see if she explodes or not. And it's not exploding. That actually is pretty cool. Got to clean it up a little bit, but once that glue dries, I'm going to go over each one of these with a plane, and then we'll start fitting this to the main body. insane. Alright, let's see what we got here. Should be tight enough that it will hold itself closed. Ah, yes. Not bad, there's enough room for some wood movement there. Yeah, that turned out great. And I almost forgot, we gotta have some way to get this thing open. So, we're just gonna take the easiest route here. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna cut ourselves a little pole on this side. Very simple, very minimalist. Just put your finger in there and you pull out. You do the same to the other side and this thing will be done. Oh, there we go. Now we're officially done. And so getting into the use for this thing, this is going to be its life. It is going to serve as a small extension cabinet to this cabinet that I built, man, almost 2 years ago. It's kind of hard to believe. Anyway, it's going to be just the right size to put some chisels, and it's well tight. There we go. Put some chisels and whatever else I want to in there. This thing is almost full to the brim. I got to sell some stuff here pretty soon. And so it's going to live its life underneath this. Well, and the nice thing is I can open it on either side. That's a unintended consequence of not having enough wood to make a backer for it. So make it a feature. And so that's going to be how I'm going to use it. It's just going to rest nicely right there. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. It's a nice contrast to that sapele on there. I thought about putting some finish on it, but decided against it because I actually ran out of finish a while ago, so don't have anything to do it with, so kind of done there. But yeah, that's going to be its purpose. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Looks a bit rustic. And I know this is very rough looking, but the idea was to build something really quick, really simple, and it was more to concentrate on using these bamboo nails here. I don't know if there's actually a Japanese term for these. It just seems like something that the Japanese would do. So I'm not claiming to be Japanese or original in that manner. I'm just making use of what I've got. And I also want to send a big shout out to the patrons on Patreon because you guys paid for the materials to get this done. So I am very thankful for your support. You guys are awesome and you know who you are. And so going along with talking of the patrons and Patreon, one of the things I wanted to mention was that I have actually decided to completely demonetize my channel. I was watching TV with a wife a while back and we were watching a show that was maybe, from 6:30 to 7, like maybe 30 minutes. And I timed it, and for every 5 minutes of TV, there was at least 3 minutes of ads. And that was so irritating because you're watching basically 3/4 of the time it ads. Probably more than that. It's actually like more than half of the entire time spent for the show is nothing but ads. So I got so sick of it that I decided that I wasn't going to be a part of this ad culture anymore. It just seems to be polluting the waters quite a bit. God, that wind is getting cold too. And so I went through and demonetized every single one of my videos, so you will no longer see ads on these videos. And if you're a fan of that, you can thank the patrons for it because they are the ones who now pay for the materials and they are the ones who support what I do. If you're interested in that kind of thing, there's a link to the Patreon page down below in the description box. And so for that, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for all you do and for watching the channel and for watching the videos. And so, as always, thank you guys for watching. Have an awesome day. Arigatou gozaimasu. Sayonara. And one last thing. Make sure that you use what you've got to the highest extent that you can. Build something with your own two hands, guys. See you later.